Tom, how are you, mate?
I'm good. How are you? How's life in the Aussie land?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Yeah, it's going pretty good. Just been busy with a few of my fighters and just got a few promotions coming up and actually had Bud Crawford down. Had him down in May. He come down to Australia before he went into hard training for Canelo. So I've done a bit of a tour with him in Australia and meet and greet, which was good. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, that was great. Yeah. Nice.
yeah. Got Duran and Hearns next, two of the four kings. So that's going to be a good one as well.
Okay. Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, mate, yeah, for my viewers, thanks so much for being on a ringside seat with Tassie. I remember I met you at a Lakers game quite a few years ago, and as I said, been a massive fan of your work. So I just want to go back to obviously K2 Promotions. Obviously, you work with the Klitschkos, mate, two of the greatest heavyweights of all time, mate. Tell me like your experience with Vitali and Wladimir and the journey.
Vitali and Vladimir are some of the two most respected people that I know, not only in the boxing ring, but just as individuals outside the ring. What Vitali accomplished, fighting Lennox Lewis, that legendary fight where he had the bloody eye and wanting to continue to fight when the doctor stopped it, and then a year later winning the WC heavyweight championship of the world. That was a huge opportunity. That was actually my first promotion with K2 Promotions, or I founded great K2 Promotions with the Klitschko brothers, and that was the first show that I did under K2 Promotions as a promoter. Before that, I was a manager. First fighter I ever worked with was Kevin Kelly. Familiar with him? He fought Nassim.
Yeah,
That historic,
Flashy Meadow, what a
yeah,
legend.
historic fight in Madison Square Garden. Then I got Shane Mosley his world title opportunity against Philip Holliday on HBO.
Oh wow!
Then also James Toney. I worked with James for about 5 fights during the middle of his career. So I had a lot of experience on the management side. I did 2 fights for Layla Ali. She's been in the news lately with
Yeah, she has.
that she's done. I did when Wladimir fought at Madison Square Garden. We had Layla as the co-feature, or as the featured fight on the undercard, and her father, Muhammad Ali, was there in attendance at Madison Square Garden, and also when she fought in Berlin on one of the Value undercards, or on one of the Value shows in Berlin. She was there, so no, it was great working with Layla, with Cecilia Brækhus. No, just it's been a great journey. The Klitschko's really kicked off the promotional side of my career, and then the success we had with the Klitschko's, then signing Triple G at that time and developing his career in 2012. Then it just kind of like added on. I'm pretty much known for my work for Triple G with all the fights that I put together and just creating him into a global superstar. I mean, he's the one that fought in the ring. I was doing all the promotion outside the ring, but it worked hand in hand. And Abel Sanchez played a huge role in the promotion also, especially whenever we went to Mexico, because he had such a big Mexican fan base. It was it's exciting what we put together.
Definitely a great team, mate. You, Abel, and Triple G. Yeah, I mean, like, what an amazing fighter, what an amazing human being Triple G is, and obviously, great work with the Klitschko's, but I mean, Triple G, he was a great amateur, silver medalist, I think 2004 Athens. But explain to me the German. I think he started off fighting in Germany first, and then to hit America, to really become a mainstream star. Boxer puncher, but definitely known for his power. Tell me the build up with him, and did you ever really think it would get to where it got, which was phenomenal?
When Abel Sanchez, and I'd known Abel when he worked with Obakar, the days when he was training Terry Norris and everything like that.
Great fighters there.
All tremendous talents, all of them tremendous talents. But when Abel told me he's the hardest puncher that he's ever felt on the mitts, and Abel trained some really top, Hall of Fame world champions. That's all I really needed to know. It just, at that time, nobody really knew who Triple G was. a lot of people don't realize they thought I brought him to America and then brought him to Abel, but he had already been training with Abel. And then we had a mutual friend, actually Triple G's manager at the time. We had a mutual friend, and I made the I met with them a number of times. They were having a hard time getting any promotional traction. They were with a big promoter over in Germany, but not really getting the promotion that Triple G needed for to advance his career, and definitely not the world title opportunities. Felix Sturm was over there, and Triple G was in the same division, the middleweight division, and they were definitely keeping Felix Sturm away from from Triple G because he wasn't a household name. He was a great boxer, like you touched on his amateur career, but getting involved with Triple G when people didn't know him over here was interesting because you didn't really know what we were going to get with a fighter from Kazakhstan. Most people in America knew Kazakhstan from the movie Borat. They didn't really know anything else about.
That's right.
So it's easy to look back now, and the promoters are saying, "Oh, I signed a fighter from Kazakhstan, thinking they're going to have the next Triple G." And I keep telling people, there was only one Triple G, really. Was so. It was my job then to get him on TV, and because he wasn't known, that was a hard sell. And basically, I used the pitch of, he'll fight anyone. He was the WBA interim champion at the time, or regular champion when they elevated Felix Sturm. But told him he'll fight anyone. He doesn't need a lot of money. He just wants TV exposure. And it took about 9 months, and sure enough, we finally got some traction when Felix Sturm fought Daniel Geale in a unification fight. That was the only way. Just to give you the story, a little history on that one. That was the only way we had Felix Sturm kind of boxed in a corner, and the IBF the WBA finally ordered, okay, Sturm has to fight Triple G in his next fight unless it's a unification fight, which a lot of times the unification fights take precedence over a mandatory.
Yeah.
And sure enough, Felix got Daniel Geale to go to Germany in a unification fight to delay one more time the fight, and Daniel Geale was supposed to fight. Oh boy, I'm gonna forget his name now. The fighter from Russia, the WBO champion at the time, who had knocked out Danny Jacobs in the second round.
Yeah.
That was going to be a tremendous fight. Unfortunately, that fighter had gotten injured. I don't know why.
He had an accident.
But Pirog.
I know the one. Very good fighter. Short name. I think he had an accident after retire.
Yeah, it was Pirog actually.
Pirog,
huge puncher, knocked out Danny Jacobs in the second round, and that was going to be a tremendous WBO versus WBA champion on HBO. Unfortunately, Pirog got injured in his training camp, like you said, that he injured his back, and then actually wound up never fighting again. And so then his HBO debut was against Proxa, the European champion, southpaw from Poland. The completely opposite style to Pirog, on 3 weeks' notice. But we kept the fight. Triple G had a tremendous knockout, 5th round knockout, and then after that, all the HBO fans were, calling in, writing in, sending emails. We want to see Triple G again, and then he had the famous fight with Gabe Rosado at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
After that, it really was people really the momentum was building. He fought Curtis Stevens after that, and before that, he fought in Monaco. And one of the secrets, or not secrets, but one of the keys to the success of building Triple G, because he was already, a lot of people don't realize he was 30 years old by the time I started working with him.
He was
30 years old. So, I had a short runway to make some of the big fights. And the only way you can make big fights is if you can have a marketable champion that sells tickets. And so everything with Triple G was expedited, all the opponents, everything. Like I said, with Curtis Stevens, that was a big win for him back at Madison Square Garden. He was the most active champion at the time. He was fighting 4 times a year. Other champions that were American were fighting maybe once a year, and not outside of America. And Triple G didn't care where he fought. He fought in London against Kell Brook, fought in Japan against Murata.
Yeah.
fought all over the place, and really developed a great fan base. And I would say he was the most devastating boxer that I've seen, at least in modern times, where during the prime of his career, I'd say from like 2012 to 2016, maybe those 4 years, 5 years, that he was untouchable. And I still think he won the first Canelo fight, as do most people.
Yeah. Yeah, I rewatched it the other day to get in the Canelo Terence Crawford mood, and
Yeah.
yeah, he definitely did. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, HBO had it scored. The neutral judge, Harold Letterman, had it scored 8 rounds to 4. That's exactly how I scored it. I don't know how the pressure on the Las Vegas judges at the time, had him seeing something different. But at least he got a draw, I guess, out of that fight. But yeah, it was already. I think by that time he was already 36.
Yeah.
It's just you can't beat Father Time. So at that point, Canelo had picked the right time to fight Triple G, especially rematch. I still think he won. Third fight, he definitely lost to Canelo. But yeah, that was a fun ride. The selling out arenas all over the world, taking him to Mexico City, doing charity events over there. The fans recognized him wherever we took him. I took him to a convention, boxing convention, WC convention over in China one time, and he was more popular than Evander Holyfield, which shocked me because Evander was very Hall of Fame heavyweight champion, but what happened was all the Triple G's fights were being shown over in China. So everyone was familiar with his fights, and probably when Holyfield was fighting, they didn't show his fights over there. So I'm not singling him out, but my point is that when we got there, I mean the fans really reacted to him in China, which surprised me, and it's great. It was great to see wherever he went, he got a great reaction.
Yeah, well, that's a huge market in China. I'm actually, he's very heavily involved. He's pretty much saved amateur boxing from being out of the Olympics, which would have been tragic to ever see. But it looks like he's involved heavily with the Kazakhstan Olympic and amateur boxing, in general. So it's great. I'm actually looking at next year in 2026 to do a Kazakhstan versus Australia amateur tournament, and obviously possibly bring Triple G out it'll be a great marketing tool to have him come to Australia. But yeah, I was a massive fan of his. I was actually at the only one of the Canelo fights I was at was the third one. I remember seeing you there, and obviously, but I mean, great journey. It was just one hell of a gentleman of a person, and yeah, unbelievable, mate. He's definitely one of the greatest boxers and human beings we've actually had.
Yeah, I agree. And to your point on the amateur, he had such a tremendous Hall of Fame career as a professional. But now what he's doing for amateur boxing, if he can save, I wouldn't say single-handedly, but he's got a huge part in doing it. If he can save boxing for the Olympics in 2028 in LA, that's a tremendous achievement for the sport, because it would be you couldn't even think of the Olympics without boxing being part of it. So,
imagine how many young people, that have got a dream to it, like myself. I tried out for 2000 Sydney. I was unsuccessful, but I mean, yeah, look, and how many the stories of De La Hoya, Ray Leonard, all the great fighters, Mark Breland over the years, and but obviously you had a super flyweight series too on HBO with Chocolito Gonzalez, Estrada. Tell me about that as well.
That's another project that was really fun to work on. We had the two best pound for pound fighters at that time in the pound for pound ratings on the same show. We had Triple G headlining on HBO, and then Chocolatito was the co-feature. And some people had Chocolatito number one, other people had Triple G number one, but at least I could say, and it's probably the only time that that's ever going to happen, the two best pound for pound fighters on the same show. And Chocolatito had always been a tremendous champion, but just like with Triple G, as soon as we got him on TV, got him on HBO, the fans loved him, and so he was so popular, became so popular. I was talking to Peter Nelson at the time from HBO, and saying, he does such a great job as a co-feature. We should give him his own headline show, and that's how we started. How I started the Superfly series. because the super flyweights at the time, the economics weren't, they were either fighting in Mexico, Japan, South America, and the purses weren't very big. And so I looked at it as an opportunity of just putting on great fights. The great thing about that lighter division, those lighter divisions, is that the fighters, if you offer them the right amount of money, they're willing to fight each other. It's not like, in the middleweights, the heavyweights, it takes like 3 years, 5 years, sometimes longer to build up a fight or actually to make a fight. They're just like, they'll fight. Number one was fighting number two, and top five, and all that type of stuff. So we put on some great fights on the Superfly shows, and that's one of the accomplishments I'm proud of, because, like I said, promoters were pretty much ignoring that division or those lighter divisions. Anything under, featherweight or maybe under 122, they just weren't looking as marketable. And now you see a lot of promoters, because of the success that I had with Chocolatito and Estrada and Sorongvasai, all the guys I had on the show, Carlos Cuadras, going with exploring into or signing fighters into those lighter weight divisions.
Yeah, it's always been hard for the little guys, mate, but they give you their all, unbelievable. And that was great that you've done that. Mate, before we finish up, I just wanted to touch on, obviously, TKO boxing, Dana White. Obviously, he's doing big moves. You and him are, get on very well, and you're I believe you're a big part of it. The first big one is Canelo and Bud Crawford on September 13 in Vegas. And you've obviously you've got Callum, Walsh, and Serhii Bohachuk that you represent as well on the show.
Yeah, no, it's a huge opportunity for Callum Walsh to be in the co-feature. Undefeated. This is exactly what Dana's talking about. An undefeated young fighter from Ireland fighting an undefeated young Mexican-American fighter, both risking their records but it's on the co-feature of Canelo Crawford. It's going to get a huge amount of exposure for those guys. And that was when HBO went out of business, I didn't have a TV partner for a couple of years. And so when I met with Dana, I've always admired what he had done in the combat sports field. I think he's the best combat sports promoter out there. What he's accomplished with the UFC on such a global scale. You saw the TV deal that they just signed, and him to get involved now officially in boxing. He made that announcement on our show in Dublin last year that he's all into boxing, and you see the TV deal that they did for UFC, and if looking at the energy that he can bring into the sport and the excitement and all the promotion, the publicity, all the social media assets, everything, all the success from UFC, if he can translate that into boxing, it's a really exciting time for the sport, exciting time for the fighters. UFC Fight Pass is a great platform that we use to build fighters. Callum Walsh fought on UFC Fight Pass, all of his fights after his pro debut. So no, it's exciting, and I'm really looking forward to see what Dana's going to bring with him, the energy and all the motivation into the sport of boxing.
Oh, mate, it's huge. And chuck in Turk El Shea and what the Saudis are doing over there. I've been to, I think, 6 of their last, 7 shows in Saudi. It's been good. And obviously, Bohachuk, mate, he's definitely one of the best 154 pounders out there. Had a brutal fight with Ortiz. Didn't go his way, unfortunately. 2 knockdowns. But he's on the show, mate. He's obviously, it's a pretty good division now, 154. He's looking to do well on this show and get a world title.
Yeah, I think that's the deepest division in boxing. He's had other offers, but to be on this show and to headline the preliminary fights, that's going to be seen all over the world on open TV, everything like that. It's a huge opportunity. This is the fight that he really wanted, the rematch. This is the one fight that he acknowledges was a loss. Virgil Ortiz, you mentioned that fight. He dropped Virgil twice, and we really thought he should have gotten the decision on that fight, or at least kept his title in that fight. But with Brandon Adams, he really wanted this rematch, and after the first fight, Adams was going through some legal issues and hadn't actually fought for a number of years. And then now he's active again, and he just competed in an OTX tournament Arguably, it was a very close decision in the main event, but he's a very dangerous fighter, big puncher, like we saw in the first fight. Bohachuk was winning the fight, kind of dominating the fight, but you can never count out a puncher like Brandon Adams, and Bohachuk had a mental lapse and let him get set up for that left hook, and then he was able to end the fight that way. So it was an exciting fight the first time, and we expect it to be exciting fight now for the fans. And you look at the quality of the shows, the fights on this undercard. You got like Callum Walsh versus Vargas, two undefeated guys. You got
Vargas,
You got Mbili versus Lester Martinez. That's a tremendous matchup of top level guys in the super middleweight division. You got the Bohachuk Adams fight, and then you have also Ditchko, Ivan Ditchko, who's a 6'9" heavyweight from Kazakhstan, fighting Jermaine Franklin. And those are all in the undercard, and it's not a pay-per-view. It's on either Netflix or it's on open TV on YouTube or across the social media platforms that TKO has. So there's a number of other fighters on the show as well. But if you look at just those five fights alone, including the Canelo Crawford show fight, this is one of the best shows that I've seen in a long time.
No, it's great, mate. It's great that Danny's involved. Your Excellency, I mean, you're part of it.
Yes.
And before we go, obviously, when I was with Bud in the WC convention in December in Hamburg, he told me it was Canelo pretty much or nothing. He had his sights set on him, and he's landed it. And obviously, you've had dealings with Canelo in the past, mate. I really believe, I really believe he can pull it off. I think that his skill, I think he'll handle the weight well. Canelo's a great fighter, but he's definitely hasn't got the punch output that he used to have when he fought, say, Triple G. I mean, without throwing in the deep end, but I mean, how do you envision the fight?
The great thing about that matchup, two Hall of Fame fighters for sure. But the great thing is, the people I talk to, it's pretty much mixed 50-50. A lot of people think Canelo's going to win because of his experience in the ring in big fights like this and the weight, naturally. And a lot of people think Bud Crawford's going to win because of his ring IQ and speed and, could outbox Canelo. So, I'm going to reserve my opinion on it, but it's definitely going to be a great fight. And I could see it going either way. I really could. I could see Canelo, punishing with body shots and kind of using his frame and weight. And I could also see Bud Crawford putting on a masterclass boxing, which, like you said, Canelo slowed down a little bit since the Triple G fights. So either way, you got to give a lot of credit, like you mentioned, to His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh for even putting these type of fights together. He's definitely financing that type of fight. These are fights that you could only dream of. I mean, these are like dream matchups now, which he's making a reality. And then you put Dana White in there as far as being the face of the promotion. Nick Khan, on the business side, Nick's one of the best business minds that I know. What he's done with the WWE, and just the exposure there is tremendous. So when you have them working together on an event like this, I mean, at Allegiant Stadium with 65,000 people, and all the from what I understand with the different effects and the production, the quality of the production is going to be second to none. What they put together. When Dana went to the Sphere and put on that show there at the Sphere, I mean, it was just like such a different level than what anyone's used to in combat sports. And now bringing that to Allegiant Stadium, to the biggest fight in a long time, it's going to be a treat for the fans, and they don't have to pay for it. All you need is a Netflix subscription.
That's right.
Have to do a pay-per-view, $80 or more pay-per-view. That's the beauty of this model and of the show.
Yeah, listen, Tom, I've been wanting this for a while. So listen, thank you so much for being a guest on Ringside Seat with Dazzy. Thanks for always getting back to me and having time for me. And you're one of the great guys in the sport. And I look forward to seeing you in Vegas on September 13th, mate.
Yeah, for sure, Grant. Always good to talk to you, and look forward to seeing you in Vegas.
Take care, mate. Thank you for your time, Tom.
Okay. All right.
See you, mate. Bye.
Thank you, gentlemen.